All right, we are live, and I'm Richard, and I will be your game master for this evening. Tonight we're playing Dark Streets and Darker Secrets, a game by Diogo Nogueira, and using Zzarchov Kowolski's wonderful toolkit module, The Price of Evil, which is a fantastic haunted house module. Our adventurers are all members of the Hudson Valley Paranormal Society, who in a January Saturday hiked out to an abandoned town where they found what was reputed to be a haunted house, the one house left standing in the town. And they found themselves, as the sun sets, in the dark, with the snow beginning to come down. The snow is falling fast and thickly. It's not necessarily windy, it's not a blizzard, but the snow is getting very, very heavy, and very, very quickly appears to be getting very, very heavy. They may be trapped for the evening in a house where things are getting steadily more disturbing and creepy, which is, I'm guessing, not what they were hoping for when they set out to investigate this place. But what they suspected might have been coming. Let's start with going with Slugger Sims. Stephen, why don't you introduce Slugger?
Sure. Slugger is a sort of a troubleshooter or errand boy for the Avondale repository. He's the tough archetype. He's bound to the service of the Avondale repository by some sort of an ancient jewel. And the Avondale repository itself is a secret collection of occult texts within the New York City public libraries. He's been sent to the Hudson Valley to just find out what is going on about this mysterious town.
Right. All right. And then let's go backwards across the bottom of my screen, at least. And Robbie, why don't you introduce Amos?
Okay, so I'm playing Amos. He's of the nimble archetype. He used to be a monk, but due to some experiences with the supernatural at the monastery he was at, he seemed to get into some type of conflict with the abbot and the other monks who were in charge of the monastery, and has been removed from that monastery, and now is kind of making his living as a handyman. He has in his possession a kind of mysterious silver whistle, which did come into play last session. This whistle was given to him by an old monk that he really hardly knew at the monastery. That monk seemed to be suffering from some type of dementia, but seemed to establish some type of bond with Amos and insisted on him taking this silver whistle. And in fact, he last session, we were looking at I believe it was a cabinet of curios, and he seemed to see the figure of that elderly monk on the plates, and for some reason Amos decided to blow that whistle, and then something happened that the monk disappeared. That elderly monk figure disappeared. And I'd say, like right where we are right now, Amos, he kind of seems like he's holding it together, but if you look at him carefully, it is clear that he is expending a lot of effort to try to maintain some type of appearance of keeping himself together. There's been this mysterious figure that has appeared outside the door. of the parsonage that we are at, and things have really gotten ratcheted up. And so as much as he can, he's trying to kind of keep his composure, but there's a lot of effort currently going into that.
All right. And Eduardo, why don't you introduce Edwin?
Sure. So I'm playing Edwin Strain. He's smart. I mean, he's essentially sort of a repository for weird and arcane information. I kind of imagined him as a weird consultant to local police or district attorneys. He's kind of thin. He's wiry. He's got this chronic cough. He's generally tired looking. He's got a sort of this urban energy to him, but I guess he's experiencing some elements of the weird that I guess the other two are. So should be interesting.
All right. So let's talk briefly about sort of what's happened during the super briefly about what happened during the first session. And then let's think about what happened last session. So during the first session, we were lucky to have 2 players who haven't been able to rejoin us for the rest of the series. So we're not going to dwell too much on what they were doing. So we just kind of folded what they were doing into kind of common knowledge in the second session. So give me a little bit of framing just beyond just the hiking out and discovering the abandoned town. What have you learned briefly since then? And let's get in a little more detail as we get into the second session. And I will start with Edwin, since he is the clever one.
So Edwin had done some research on the area, had picked up on the fact that there was some sort of a massive accident that contributed towards the local mill closing. Local legends of some sort of a headless figure seen at night around the town, maybe active sometime around Civil War era. I guess there was some sort of link between this headless figure and the coming of a new pastor to town in around 1919 or 1920-ish or so.
Okay.
That was what I had gathered from the first session.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Should I go into the second session, or do you want to kind of go around for first session and then come back to the second session?
Let's check in with Amos and Slugger and see if there's anything from the first session you wanted to add. Any details that we might be missing out on?
In the first session, Amos, before heading out, had done some interviews with other hikers who had been by this area. He followed up by some news reports and was able to get some information from some of them. There were some New York University students who had gotten lost near this place, and they had seen that the parsonage was intact and had heard voices, and they thought they saw a light coming from one of the upper windows, thinking that it almost looked like somebody had a mirror up there or something like that was emitting light. There was also a woman in her late 50s who was walking in the area and saw somebody who looked like her ex-husband when he was much younger. And I think, that detail for Amos is kind of connecting with now the fact that, and I seem to have had some type of vision or something, seeing somebody from my past that appeared on those plates. And how could that be, right? That we would both be having this kind of experience, seeing somebody from their, in a way from their past. And also finally there was somebody who had gotten lost near this parsonage, and they saw a figure on the tower, this large tower that is coming out of part of the parsonage, and they saw somebody that seemed to be looking at them or walking around on top of that tower.
Yes. All right. I found the slugger. Anything you'd want to add?
No, not the first session.
I guess we had also in the first session, we had been in the cemetery where we found a little 2-foot hole or 2-foot wide hole that was going, I think, down deep, that was in the cemetery.
All right. So let's move up to second session. And we're going to snake that backwards. Slugger, what happened from your perspective in the second session?
In the second session, we started exploring the house, and things got kind of weird. And some of it was weird in ways that I do not understand. For instance, I looked into an empty suit of armor, and something about that just freaked me out. And I can't explain what. Mm-hmm. But as we were exploring the house, for instance, drawers would slam shut for no reason. There were strange sounds. While I was in the parlor with some other people, I heard the front door open, and when I went to investigate, I found footsteps leading down to the basement. And pursuing it down there, I found another tunnel like the one that was in the graveyard. It dug into the cellar leading down somewhere, and I never found the figure that was making the footprints.
The basement appeared to be empty, in fact.
Yeah.
And just to clarify, the hole, for lack of a better word, was much larger. That you found in sort of that one room that was kind of dominated by the hole was much larger than the one in the graveyard. The one in the graveyard is just like maybe a foot and a half across, and right where the head would be. You did find a filled-in patch of dirt in an otherwise packed dirt floor that was about the same size as the one in the graveyard, and that one had 2 glasses of wine on it that were filled with wine.
Okay. Yeah.
And just so I don't mislead you on that, I know I'm not clearing up any confusion because, the confusion is scary. But just so I don't mislead you, and yeah, you'd follow those fresh footprints down into the basement that had not been there before, and the basement was empty.
Oh yes, and also there was quite a bit more snow than there was when we came here. That was trapping us inside the house.
Right. And a lot of snow fell in a very short period of time. Then snaking backwards, we're back to Amos. Tell us a little about what happened to Amos during that second session.
Well, I mean, we had done some investigating around the first floor. Amos was there when he saw Slugger get disturbed by something going on with that suit of armor, and didn't really understand what that was about. But then Amos later on had a similar experience with, I believe it was a desk where something kind of mysteriously slammed shut on the desk, and for some reason that really disturbed him. We went through a game room where now this is a parsonage that had a bunch of kids that were living in there, but we were finding signs in the game room of non-religious activities that were going on. So we found a Bible that had a flask hidden in it, and also playing cards that had pornographic pictures on them. So, you know, there was obviously something kind of curious going on in that game room. I also know that towards the end, when we were back out in that entryway, the suit of armor when we came in had the head on it, but now the head is gone. We have this figure that we saw at the front door that now is banging and pretty much breaking in the front doors, coming in from outside. And also at the very end, I know that I saw on the stairs something written in the dust that seems to say "true salt in the true mouth." And I thought that I was seeing something, but I called the others to see if they made out what I had seen, and they seemed to see the same writing there.
There was indeed. Edwin, what do you remember from that second session?
I guess just a couple details to add to Amos's description. You know, I can recall that the Bible came from something called the Cana Society. Mm-hmm. Yes, I think you previously mentioned the writing in the dust, for example, the "in the snow" that appeared. There was also, I guess, the instance in the I guess it was in a parlor where there was the curio with the plates. I believe Amos mentioned that with the person that was appearing in the plates, as if I guess they were in the snow. They were I think one of the I think actually the closing scene was we saw the headless figure, and we could identify sort of the outfit or the clothing they were wearing as an officer of the Northern Army, roughly dated somewhere around the Civil War era. And I just looking at my notes, I think I was able to recall a local legend that you must pour salt into the head, and that somehow there was a link between that and stopping or the last appearance ending. Does that ring a bell? Mm-hmm. I think that's all I have to add.
All right. So where were you all when the session ended?
I think I think we may have been in the entry hall.
Yeah, that sounds right.
And that door has banging on it, and it's more than just banging. I mean, we can see that there's some tremendous physical force being exerted on those front doors. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I have in my notes again that were we going to try to find Slugger by entering the cellar from inside the house? I don't know if that rings a bell.
Didn't I come back upstairs at the end of the session?
Yeah,
I believe that Slugger had already rejoined you.
Okay, cool.
And there's no entrance to the cellar outside the house.
Gotcha.
All right. So you're all standing in the entryway. The store is starting to little tilt inward every time the headless figure outside strikes it. And I think True Salt is written by the left-hand staircase, because remember that headless suit of armor is kind of in the middle of the forking staircase. True Salt is written at the foot of the left, and In the True Mouth is written on the right. staircase with nothing written in front of that. And it is banging on the door. And every now and then it just sort of swings when he hits it hard enough. And there's sort of a wailing moan that may be the wind, but you weren't getting a lot of wind. And maybe another sound. What do you do?
Just for clarification, the staircase, do the left and the right staircase, do they meet at the top, or
they meet in the sort of halfway up?
Okay.
It's sort of a deliberate affectation to have sort of this forking staircase that just has a decorative area in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I guess the upstairs is the one thing we haven't explored, right?
Right.
Yeah, and I think we probably should not stay here. I'm not really interested in facing that figure who's trying to get in here. I think we should make our way up the staircase, unless Slugger, unless you think where you came from would be a better place for us.
It's probably a good idea to find out what's in the building.
Should we head up the staircase?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. As you head up, you hear it smacked one more time. You hear the doors buckle hard, but they don't seem to buckle in. And then when you get to the top of the staircase, you can hear the ongoing barrage of strikes, and you know that door is going to break, even though it looked fairly sturdy. You get to the top of the stairs, and sort of as you get to the top of the stairs, kind of behind you, kind of going over across is kind of a little, for lack of a better word, balcony that sort of overlooks the lobby or the main entryway. And then there's sort of a U-shaped hallway that seems to be connecting 6 doors, 2 to the right, 2 to the left, and 2 directly ahead. Also directly ahead is a spiral staircase, you'd guess, that's going up into the tower.
Shall we look at the tower first?
Now, you are also disturbed by this relentless pounding and knowing that the door is going to give away fairly soon.
Those 6 doors, are they all closed? I mean, is there any
They're
sort
all
of...
closed, yeah.
Okay.
They're all closed. They're all relatively nice.
Gosh, I don't know. What do you think, Amos?
You know, the problem with the tower that I see is we could get trapped. I mean, I think, you know, you go up the tower. Of course, any of these rooms could trap us as well.
That's when you hear the door break. And you hear heavy boots crossing the threshold.
So I vaguely remember when we first got here, didn't we see like a metallic light, like a reflection, or am I conflating?
Something like a reflection that would be, you know, just from that would be the frontmost room off to your right from the stairway. And by frontmost, I mean the one closest to the front of the house.
And we also had those reports that there was that reflection, right? That the people
yeah
had seen.
The steps are walking heavily towards the staircase.
You know, man, you know, I guess I'm just pulling Amos and Slugger, you know, by their you know, lapels or by, you know, pretty much whatever I can grab. You know, their jackets and just like you know, just pulling them towards the nearest door. I'm just panicking.
The nearest door?
I think so. I don't know. Are you guys resisting or?
I think, you know, Amos is grabbing that silver whistle, but he's also in the same hand, he has a cross that he keeps around his neck. And so kind of in the same hand, he has those two kind of clasped together. And he's also kind of reaching in. He does have a revolver, doesn't let people really know that he has it, but he's kind of, you know, he has a kind of holster, I guess, close up against his body, and he's reaching in there to get that revolver out. But while I'm doing this, I will like I'll go back towards that room. I mean, it seems to me a good idea to kind of get out of the line of sight. Of course, if it's a headless figure, it may not, you know, the line of sight is probably irrelevant. But yeah, he's going back into that first room that we can get to.
Okay. All right. You get a door open and you pull everyone inside. Are you closing that door?
I think so, yeah.
Edwin, I'm going to need you to make an agility check. You're making this because I want you to get a sense of how quietly you close that door.
Okay. I don't. Can you post the link to the page again?
Oh, yeah. Post it on Slack, but I'll put it in the group chat.
Let's see.
One sec. There we go.
Oh, there it is. Okay. And that's a 2d20.
D20 unless you have something that's giving you advantage of being quiet.
Oh, okay. In that case, I don't, and I am just going to do a 1d20. Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, so that's a 19. And my agility is, I know it's not that high. It's only an 11.
Okay. Between pulling them in and turning to close the door, your elbow catches the edge of the door, and it creaks as it swings, and then kind of pops, not slam, but just pops audibly into its space. There is a latch from the inside.
Yeah, I mean, I would just sort of, I would try to lock it. You know, I'm fumbling. I'm kind of just, you know, messing around with the latch, just trying to get it in.
All right. Yeah, it locks where it seems to lock. What do you guys have for light again?
I've got
one person had a portable lantern and one person had a flashlight.
Yeah, I've got a flashlight, and you know, I'm going to take one look at that lock and say, you know, that's not going to hold. If he broke the front door down, that thing is going to last 5 seconds.
Now, I think you know, Slugger, that one issue with locks on those French style doors is both things that are supposed to be bolted into place are moving, unless you've latched one of them into place. Does that make sense? Like when you put a deadbolt on a French style door, they're both sort of
Yeah.
unless one of the doors is kind of bolted down and into place.
Right.
One of the issues with that is those deadbolts is that or latches is that they both are swinging. In a sense, this might be slightly more secure for a bit. And I think, did anybody have a lantern, or are you just relying on Slugger's flashlight?
I think I also had a
I have a kind of LED camping lantern.
Okay, so that's what between those two. So the camping lantern LED kind of gives everything in the room sort of a faint gray light. That sort of LED light. Mm-hmm. When it's in its kind of almost white, it's blue mode. Or almost so white it's blue. And you're in a fairly large bedroom. Let me tell you a little bit what you see. However, your lantern is actually providing a little more sort of light. Because there's sort of a mirrored sort of pedestal in the middle of the room. And it looks like it was there to sort of reflect, to sort of maximize the light in the room. Because it's sort of right under a candelabra. And it's not like a 70s mirrored pedestal. There's just sort of just around the top, there's just some silver polished plating, old fashioned mirror type things that seem to be there solely to sort of reflect whatever light was coming down from the candelabra. Oh, sorry. I was describing the wrong thing. Sorry. Yeah, there's a candelabra in the middle. Don't worry about the mirrored pedestal. Audience at home, this is what happens when you lose your place in what you're reading. But yeah, there's what you would expect to find in a bedroom. There is a very large 4-poster bed with a iron frame. There's a nightstand on either side of the bed. There's a wardrobe and a small door to whatever it is that was next door to you when you sort of walked into this room. Next to two windows sort of looking out at the snowy night, which, not very far because there's not a light out there. And there's no moon because of the clouds and the snowstorm. Between those two windows is a vanity and a dresser. You can see just in the faint light there's the mirror in the vanity is cracked. And it's hard to make out, in sort of the gray light, it's hard to make out much about the bed. from where you're standing. You're all standing sort of by the door, so you can move around and try to investigate.
I mean, I look to the other two. I think we need to come up with a plan to get out of here.
Look, we can hide or we can fight. But if we try to leave the house, first of all, we're going to freeze, and second of all, we're going to leave tracks.
So I think Richard, I think I heard you say there is a window in this room.
Yep.
I mean, just instinctively, I just look out the window to see how far a drop it is.
It's hard to see now just because it's so dark outside. You know, it's night and it was a cloudy sky, so you don't have any source of light. But you do remember that this is a classic style house where the first floor is almost a full story above the ground. So the basement is almost at ground level. And you can't remember whether it was higher or lower in back, but it's at least a full story and probably a little bit more before you hit the ground. Your safest bet would be the slower. If you wanted to drop out this window, the safest bet would be the slower thing, which isn't, has the disadvantage of being slower, where you fully extend yourself out the window, holding onto the sill before you drop, and then that sort of minimizes the amount of dropping you do. It also means that you're more likely to keep your footing.
Right. Or we could use some rope.
Yeah. I don't know how many second story windows Edwin has snuck out of in his life, but you're not sure you'd be able to do that if whatever it is that's slowly walking up the stairs one step at a time breaks down the door before you try to drop out. And you're not sure how slow is. And you've not tried to open these windows, so. What do you do? Like I said, there is a slow set of heavy boots coming up the stairs, echoing in the house.
Yeah. I think Amos is going to say, we can't get trapped in this room. And Amos is going to work his way over to that small side door and try that. And if it's open, take a peek in what he sees in that other room.
You have gotten into, give me 1 second. And you have the lantern, right?
Right. I'm carrying a
So
lantern.
as you move away, the bedside of the room gets darker. And there's let me check the map one more time. Now, there's also a door to this room from the outside. And it's a in your lantern light, you see a storage room that's just been tossed into disarray. There's a lot of broken pottery. Of the nice sort. or broken ceramics or porcelains. Um, there's linens, there's brooms, towels, sheets. It looks like a storage or cleaning closet of some sort. It looks like a maid's closet. These are the things that the maid would put out while people were downstairs. There's lots of porcelain. Everything's been upended. Everything's been tossed on the floor or kind of left hanging on the walls. There are just sheets sort of hanging from where the shelves were previously nailed in. And it is in complete disarray. And you still, because there is a door to that hallway that you entered the master bedroom through, to the outside, or not to the outside, but to that hallway where you hear those steps coming up the staircase, and they are getting slowly closer.
And so this room, it just has the two doors. It has the door that I came through, and then the door to the hallway.
Yeah.
And I think I would try to quickly make my way over to that door to make sure that it is latched. If there is a latch for it.
Why don't you make an agility check to turn that latch quietly?
So I rolled a 10, and my agility is a 14. So I'm under my agility.
Okay. There's a little bit of a click, but you're not really sure how loud it is. It seemed pretty soft.
Mm-hmm.
You're not sure how much softer you could have made it. Especially since you sort of you did a good job of sort of timing it to when a loud step would be. But then a moment later, you hear him or it step onto the landing. It's not got the creak groan of the stairs, and start to move slowly towards the spiral staircase and these two doors are pretty close to each other. So it's moving to either the master bedroom door, the spiral staircase, or the door you're at. Slugger and Edwin, what are the two of you doing? Now remember that at this point you're just going by you're just going by Slugger's flashlight, which only goes in one direction because the lantern has gone into the storage room. So Slugger, where are you pointing that flashlight?
I think I've moved near the door, and I'm listening to the footsteps. So okay. I'm tracking how close it's getting, and I'm just getting ready for it to try to break into the room. And and I've got the flashlight. I've got it aimed high enough that the light won't show under the crack of the door. But.
Okay.
So Edwin also has a pistol, and I mean he's at this point he's drawn it. He's holding it close to his close to himself. Just kind of, he's not practiced. I mean, he's just scared.
I'm going to give him the flashlight to hold so that I can have both hands for the baseball bat. I mean, right now, I think holding a flashlight is about the most useful thing he can do in combat.
Sure, Cinematically, he holds it like you see it on Hollywood, you know, like in TVs and movies, completely ineffective, but it just sort of looks cool.
Mm-hmm. You all hear sort of it was an iron or steel spiral staircase going up towards that tower-like structure overhead. And you hear what sounds like cloth brushing past one of those metal steps. Like something heavy, not like cloth, more like leather, like a jacket of heavy leather and wool, brushing across that iron or steel staircase, going upward, and then sort of going all the way by it, and you don't hear footsteps on it. You know that would be loud. And then there's no sound for a moment. And then there's no sound for another moment. And there's just sort of this quiet. You can sort of hear the wind blowing very, very gently from the open front door. And then I need everybody to make a willpower check.
I got a 4.
Nice.
I got a 10, which is under my 14.
Nice. How'd that go, Amos? Hey, you may be muted, Robbie.
I rolled a 20.
You didn't think it would bother you quite this much, Amos? And everybody jumps a little bit. Your heart certainly race a little bit when this happens, but there is a very firm knock at the door to the bedroom. Not like it's trying to break down the door, but like it's trying to get you to open it from the inside. A very and then Amos, you're going to lose 3 sanity on that. And then it goes back to silence, as if it's waiting. What do you do?
I mean, I'm going to remain silent. There's still a chance that it will just go away. But
And what do you do, Edwin? So you're standing there very, very calmly, and I think you see the light from the storage room, since that door is open between the bedroom and the storage room, start to tremble in Amos's hand.
To be frank, I think I'm getting my confidence from Slugger at the moment. I mean, I'm still near him, I think, proximity wise. So I'm just standing still, just taking my lead from him.
Amos, your light is starting to tremble in your hand. And that's when you notice the crack under the door. It's not very big, but it's certainly there. And then you hear a step. And then you hear another knock very firmly on the door to the storage room from the outside. And then Slugger and Edwin. I'd like you both to make an additional willpower check. You heard the knock, but not.
Okay, I got an 11, which exactly matches my willpower.
I got a 5, which is under my willpower.
Nice. So neither of you jump, and you find a new resolve there, Slugger, as your sanity goes back up by 3. And you're but that new resolve sort of belies the fact that you hear something from the very dark direction of the bed. And let's take a 10-minute break just right there. And I will see you guys in 10 minutes.
Okay.
Welcome back. All right. Edwin and Slugger, you heard a noise from over by the bed.
Yeah, I'm going to gesture for Edwin to shine the light at the bed while I quietly move over there.
Yeah, I shine a light on it to try to, see if I can pick up any movement.
You don't see anything near the bed. Again, it's kind of like a big clump of covers. Wait, that's not again. That's somebody has turned down the covers on that bed, and you're moving towards it, Slugger.
Yeah.
And then you hear the knock again at the storage room door, Amos, as your hand continues to sort of tremble. And Slugger, you're walking quietly.
Yes.
Towards the bed in the faint light. And in the light that Edwin is shining on the bed, where the covers are turned up, rather hastily. This is not like a maid service turning down your hotel bed. This is rather just like things that pull back. You see in sort of weird rust-colored hand-drawn letters, just as you get right next to the bed, you see, "Don't look under the bed." And I'm going to need you to make an agility check, Slugger.
Okay. 12, which exactly matches my agility.
Okay. Something grabs your foot, but you're able to kick it away, as if from under the bed.
Yeah, I'm going to move back out of its reach, and I gesture for Edwin to shine the light under the bed, and I'm going to
go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, and I'm going to bend down and try to see what's beneath there, but while keeping ready for anything to jump out at me.
I was just going to say that I'm anticipating something, and I'm like, "What do you see? What do you see?"
Shh.
Edwin, where are you in the room at this point?
I probably would have been at, I guess, at the position where Slugger and I were before he made his way to the bed. I think we were probably close to the door.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if the beam can't reach that far, I'm going to gesture for him to come closer.
Yeah, that's getting a beam of light under the bed sort of requires that the person holding the flashlight sort of either crouch low or get closer to where they're aiming for. Otherwise, the most of the bed is going to be between you and the beam of light.
Right.
And that's when you hear a third time a knock on that storage room door. And this is not trying to break things down. This is your neighbor knocking to get your attention. And Edwin, as you move closer, get the light down. Are you crouching down? Or are you just sort of holding it down so that Slugger can see?
I'm probably crouching down. I mean, I could see that he's he's making a move to go look under the bed.
So both of you are crouching down?
I am.
Okay. Underneath the bed is empty. There's nothing down there. And that's when you hear a chuckle from behind you.
I just quickly whip around, the light to face the direction of the chuckle.
I need both of you to make a willpower check and tell me who gets closest to their willpower without going over. Meanwhile, Amos, you've heard them moving around that room. And then all of a sudden you hear Edwin cry out, and that's when you hear the knock for the third time. And what do you do?
And you say that these knocks are not like trying to break it in, but are...
No, it's like not someone knocking firmly at your door. To try to get you to answer it. Type knocks.
I mean, and I'm shaking. And Amos is cautiously backing away from that door. I know that there's all sorts of clutter in this, so I'm as best I can. Amos is trying not to bump into anything, trying not to make any noise, but he's trying to kind of back up to that connecting door since he hears some noise coming from the other room. He wants to kind of get back there to take a look at what his companions are up to.
That's when I think you hear Edwin cry out. And that's when as you back up into that room, all of you hear a small chuckle from the vanity. And Edwin, who was your closest female relative growing up?
It would have to be his mother. I'm going to assume that he was a lonely child.
Okay. How old was she when you were young?
How old was she?
Yeah.
Let's say she's probably 30 years older than him, maybe.
And sitting at the mirror or sitting at the vanity is your mother in a whatever she used to wear as like a house robe.
Okay.
Or house dress or whatever she used to wear. And she is brushing out her hair.
Edwin has seen some really weird shit, but none of it's been
also
personal.
You realize that you're not shining the light on her, but she is as clear as day.
Okay. So he does have a special ability as a smart where he's got a link with the shadows.
Mm-hmm.
He's got a better chance of understanding what's going on, I guess, just than the average.
And I'm sorry, I'd also forgotten. I apologize. Edwin, you are actually taking 1 point of sanity damage.
Okay.
As you're going to be a little stammery.
Okay.
But You have a link with the shadows. Tell me how that works. Both, and also both, just in like how you see it working for Edwin, but also just mechanically.
Just mechanically, yeah. I always imagined that he, sort of my inspiration for Edwin was the Macaulay Culkin character from, and he has basically just seen supernatural throughout his life, and that's mostly been expressed as dead people, right? And it's almost like a learning curve, right? And it just becomes more natural, and he understands it better, than he did, let's say, 5 years ago or 10 years ago or 15 years ago. And I think he's come to appreciate, and stop me if this is too much, but that the dead mostly want to feel alive.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And that's how he's rationalized it in his head, that they're not here to necessarily do harm to me. They just they miss the living. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay. So kind of through that prism, he's kind of maybe found a way to understand them or relate to them, or maybe just sort of rationalize, oh yes, this was a victim of a crime, and they're still hanging out by the scene because there's a lot of emotion here, and that's their sort of touchstone to the real world. Is that a good example?
That's a good example. But how does that work mechanically? What do we when you take advantage of your link with the shadows? What happened? What sort of, how does that affect sort of the mechanics?
Yeah. How does it affect the mechanics? Now, do you mean just visually what that looks like, or
no? Just how does that affect what's mechanically happening? What's in the rules of the game?
Oh, in the rules of the game.
Yeah.
I mean, I might suggest maybe he.
Just looking it up real quick. So sorry.
Yeah, no, that's okay.
Yeah,
I guess maybe he can ask a question.
So let's take a quick look at the rules for the smart for a second.
Sure. Let's see. It just says the character halves the difficulty value of any attribute test when trying to understand how a supernatural event occurred.
Ah, gotcha. Yeah. So frequently when you get advantage, instead, you're just going to have the difficulty. So this would normally be a pretty tough one.
Okay.
Puzzling out what's not happening, other than the fact that, one, you're going to try to get your intellect or under. Normally this would be a pretty tough one. You'd want a 4, so you want to get over a 4, but your intellect or under.
Okay.
But now we're just going to treat it as a 2.
All right. And so since I'm not rolling with advantage, it's just the 1d20.
Yeah, it's just the 1d20.
Gotcha.
Actually, no, you are still at advantage because you are a weird consultant.
Oh, okay.
So that your concept always comes out.
Gotcha. So I rolled a 4 and an 11.
Mm-hmm. The 11 is the best of those two.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's closest to your intellect.
Right.
Is that way? I assume that's what. Well, they're both a success. So, so double success, also really good. And I think that's when you realize. This is likely not a ghost in any meaningful sense of ghosts. I mean, it may be tied to the spirit of a dead person. This is not just any dead person. This is not a haunting. This is almost a possession or occupation of the space.
Can Can you elaborate?
Yeah. So you're thinking that, if this was a ghost, much like you said, they would need something in the physical world.
Okay.
But your
Gotcha.
mother was never here. And you're remembering all these other things that Amos brought up and brought in about people seeing people that they were tied to or remembered or were bound to. And this may be the spirit of a former dead person, but this is not just their spirit hanging on because it can't let go of something. This is some sort of demonic spirit.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Now that may also have been, a person who has died and moved on. But they're not just haunting the place. They want something.
Okay. So I mean, I guess I would call it Amos and Slugger. I mean, do you see that? Do you see that?
Yeah, both of you see a woman in a dressing gown brushing her hair. She's fairly young, maybe 25, 30.
Okay.
And she's got a radiant light. Both of you also see that something underneath Edwin's shirt is glowing. Kind of a...
I'm going to approach Edwin and I lift up his shirt.
Yeah, that there's that piece of amber he wears on a chain is glowing with something inside it.
I just exclaimed, "Yeah, this thing only glows when there's some really weird shit going down. I don't like this. I don't like it."
And the woman says, like, you don't like it. And then you hear the knock outside the door again. You don't like it. That's unfortunate. I thought this is one of the more attractive periods of your mother's life. But, if you don't like it, I'm terribly sorry.
Who are you?
Oh, just someone who really wants to get rid of the ghost who's haunting these grounds for good and forever. Who are you?
We're just people who want to understand what's going on, and
That sounds terribly, terribly dull.
well, maybe we can help each other.
Oh, can we? What could you do that was going to help me?
We could fill the true mouth with salt.
Oh. That's interesting. Very, very, very interesting. It's a very good way to consign the souls of the impure to hell.
Is there a way to send their souls to heaven?
That's not really my decision. Amos, how do you feel right now?
I think while this conversation is going on, Amos is going to. I think Amos is, first of all, looking intently at this woman and trying to figure out, am I delusional? Is this a real person?
You know that your friends are talking to her.
Right. And I see her.
Yes.
And I think, Amos, he has the lantern in one hand. He right now is holding on to that revolver in the other hand. And he's not aiming it at her, but I think and the knocking was coming from the door to the storeroom, correct?
Yeah. Well, it started in here, but for some reason it moved over to the door to the storeroom.
Okay. Amos is going to be working his way then over to that door going out to the hallway in this room. And when he gets there, he's going to keep an eye on the woman, but he's also going to be pressing his ear against that door to see if he can hear anything out in the hallway now.
You don't hear much in the hallway right this second. And then there's a knock on the door just where you have your ear pressed to it. And I need you to make a willpower check.
So I rolled a 14, which I believe is my willpower is 10. So I'm over my willpower.
1 second. Keep losing the roll for your party room. Your willpower is going to go down by, not your willpower. Your sanity is going to go down by 3. As your sort of voice is back in your throat. And you've got her kind of covered with a pistol.
And I think at Amos at this point, he is very shaken up. And I think he is putting that lantern down on the ground. And he's also kind of sitting down on the ground, but he's going to have that revolver up and he's pointing it at her right now, trying to keep his hands steady. He's not shooting yet, but he's very out of sorts and does not know who this woman is, but she does not seem natural and seems dangerous. So he now has her kind of, as much as he can. I'm sure his hands are trembling, but he's trying to kind of hold his 2 hands steady and pointing the revolver at her.
What about you, Edwin? You know who this woman is, but she is the spitting image of your mother. Or you think you know who this woman is.
I think I know who this woman is. I think I was drawing the conclusion that this was definitely not my mother.
Right. She is the spitting image of your mother.
Yeah.
I shouldn't say you think you know. You're forming a hypothesis. You know who she's not.
Gotcha. Gosh, I'm just trying to think of a clever question to get to where I want to get to, but you know, I was backing up until it dawned on me that this was definitely not my mother, and then I think at that point that was sort of the moment where, yeah, Edwin kind of collected himself. Yeah, I guess, you know, so what's your name? You know, who are you?
You can, and this is in your mother's voice with your mother's face. She says, you can call me Gawain Lucas, the Reverend Gawain Lucas, for now.
So, I mean, I'm thinking back to the research that we did. Is this, you know, would I know if this was the same pastor from the 1919?
No, this is the previous pastor, the pastor who had been there for an extended period of time before. I think Barrow was the name of the new pastor.
Right, that's correct.
The pastor who had been in residence since he was a very young man about the time of the Civil War. For a good 50 years.
So, you know, why are you here? I mean, why did you come back? You know, why are you hanging around here?
Why don't you, Edwin, the easiest way to do this would be to push your luck.
Okay.
And tell me how you do.
Sorry. Push my luck. I will spend one of my 3 luck.
You don't spend until you roll.
Oh, okay.
And you only spend if you get above your current luck on a d6.
Gotcha.
Much like a d20 roll, you want to roll high without going over.
Okay. Oof. I got a 1.
Okay, yeah. Well, you want to roll high without going over, so. And what was the last thing you said to him?
I just wanted to understand, I guess, yeah, what is he doing here? I mean, like, why is he back? You know, what's I'm really trying to get at what's the link? I mean, like, why, you know, why is this sort of, you know, spirit still hanging out at this location?
And Reverend Lucas looks at you, you know, with your mother's face and your mother's voice. And says, well, I wasn't the only one here who sinned, and I'm not the only one who should have gone to hell.
Okay, so you're not alone, but I mean, are you referring to, you know, the sort of the Civil War apparition, or do you mean there's somebody else besides you from from your time, let's say, still linked to the house, still connected?
And then I think you realize that you're talking to air.
Gotcha.
There's nothing there. And then that's when you all hear a shoulder to the door. Just once, very firmly. And you all hear that moaning sound.
I don't know. I guess I look to the guys and it's like, I'm just trying to rationalize this. I mean, man, if that thing can, bang itself up against the door, it's there's got to be some sort of tangible or physical component to it. I mean, I don't know, Slugger, Amos. I mean, can we attack this thing? I mean, I don't know.
You also did fairly well, and this is, I think, something you already know, but I wanted to make sure it was clear to you as both a player and a character, Edwin, that you are fairly sure that the entity you just spoke to and the entity banging at the door are not the same entity.
Okay, I thought that, but that's good to hear you confirm it.
Yeah.
Right. And I think the problem is if we can attack it, that means it can attack us.
Would you like to make that intellect roll at advantage again, Edwin?
Sure. So an 8 and an 18. My intellect's 14, I believe.
15.
Yeah, 15.
So you're going with the 8. And I think you know that, yes, that there is indeed a physical component to this thing. You can somehow physically bind it, harm it. For a period, you will get some sort of break from its manifestation. Would you like to make an intellect check there, Amos, at advantage? Because this has to do with you being a defrocked monk.
All right. All right, so I rolled a 15 and a 4, and my intellect is 14.
Yeah. I think the secret of forbidden knowledge you have, Amos, is that there was a sort of demonic arcane power that the monks of your order were gathering. Or some of the monks, some of the specifically people in sort of the leader's personal coterie, or the abbot's personal coterie, by repeatedly violating their vows. And also sort of defying any sort of temporal or eternal punishment by essentially creating some sort of spiritual whipping boys for themselves by transferring the blame to other people. Not in the sense of like, oh, not, but like, you know, on a spiritual level, transferring the blame to other people. And by whipping boy, I'm thinking the sense that, you know, wealthy, well-spoken, noble, aristocratic families wouldn't punish their children. They'd have a servant who was punished on behalf of their children. And something about what was just spoken seems oddly apropos to what your order was doing. In that shoulder clobbers the door again, this time harder. The door isn't giving. What do you do?
You said the door is not giving?
You don't see any evidence that the door is giving right now. In fact, it's holding so well that the sound of the clobbering seems to be muffled. What do you do?
Okay, and this woman was sitting in front of this vanity, correct? When she was
vanity with a cracked mirror.
Okay, I think Amos, and she's not there anymore. She's disappeared, right? But I think Amos, seeing that the door is holding, he's still shaking, but he's going to make his way over to that vanity and where the woman was. I guess, you know, going to the place where she once was and kind of standing there in disbelief, but also kind of wondering, okay, maybe there's a reason why she appeared here, right? She maybe had some connection to this vanity. So he's also going to be looking at that mirror and looking at that vanity to see if there's anything odd or unusual.
Roll your luck. You want to get high without going over your actual luck score. If you go over your actual luck score, you'll lose a luck point.
So I rolled a 5, which is over my luck. I do think as I do have this ability, luck is on my side.
Okay, what's that say? Do you roll twice?
Yeah, so
why don't you re-roll it?
Characters can re-roll a number of luck rolls per adventure equal to their level.
So yeah, you can roll 2 of those.
Okay. So I will re-roll, and I got a 5 again.
All right. Your luck is going to go down by 1.
Okay.
And what you see when you look in the mirror. I'm going to need you to make a willpower check, Amos.
This has not been my strong suit with the rolls. Let's see. I'm gonna. I rolled a 16. That's over my willpower.
Okay. Do 2 points of sanity damage to as you look in the mirror, and then you realize that there is you were not looking at the room as it currently is. You are looking at the what am I trying to say? You're looking at the you're looking at this room behind the mirror, and it is filled with candles and candlelight. And you can't hear anything because you're looking in a mirror. And there's a very handsome, fit-looking young man putting on a Union officer's uniform. In the candlelight, putting on his boots, pants, and pulling on undershirt, overshirt. And then he turns to get his jacket, and a hand pulls it away. And then you see that same hand, or what looks like that same hand, stick a knife. And no one else can see this. You alone are seeing this, Amos. Stick a knife. And he's clearly been arguing with or talking very firmly to someone while he gets dressed. You see a knife by that same hand stuck into his neck. And you see him sort of sink to his knees. And he sinks to the floor, and then you see a young man in a nightshirt pick up a larger, almost saber-like blade, almost look like a decorative military saber, or something that you'd expect to see a 19th century officer wear, and bring it down where the man's neck would have been, At this point, the officer, the person who was putting on the uniform, is kind of sunk below the level of the mirror. And this other young man in a nightshirt has sort of brought the saber, the military saber, down what looks like on his neck. And then you're seeing the room again. Exactly. And that's, the door starts to crack under this kind of shoulder barrage. Something that, something hit it firmly. And not only does the lock start to like give way, or the area behind the lock start to bulge, or the bolt start to bulge out like it's about to break. The frame in the middle of the door, the sort of the flat piece of wood, starts to crack where it was shoulder clocked. What did the three of you do? You did not see what Amos saw in the vision, but all of you saw Amos staring at the mirror, and then you heard two really firm beats at the door. What do you do?
I'm going to move towards the door. I'm going to be ready if something breaks in.
Yeah, I'm with Slugger. I mean, I still got my pistol in my hand, and my other hand's got the flashlight, and I'm just shining the light on the door, just waiting, anticipating that it's going to burst open any second.
Amos, what about you?
I think Amos is really shaking at this point and is asking, first of all, I'm seeing things in this mirror that I don't understand, but I think I've seen the decapitation. And then while he's saying that, he's going to be kind of getting on the side of the vanity opposite of, basically trying to put as much of the vanity between himself and the door as he can, but also is going to have his revolver and is going to kind of rest the revolver on something to try to steady his hand and have it pointing to cover the what's going on at that doorway.
Okay. And it would refresh on me what you did. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, you said Edwin?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I was with Slugger. I mean, I was just, I positioned myself, I guess, just to, get ready for the door to come down and flashing the light on it. I've still got my pistol in my hand. So I'm just anticipating the worst at this point.
All right. Give me 1 second, guys. PDFs are responding really slowly for me tonight, so I apologize that it's taking a second to just get to the right spot. And that's when the door opens. And between the LED lantern and the flashlight, you all can see the headless figure in the classic Civil War Union uniform standing in front of you. The dark charcoal gray overcoat over the blue coat and black trousers. it has the helmet of the suit of armor from downstairs in its head, and it pulls back as if it's going to throw that into the room at some of you. Why don't you all make an agility check and tell me who beats their agility? And the difficulty on this will be 3, so you want to get over 3, but still equal to or under your agility.
Okay, I got 5 under my agility.
All right.
Excuse me.
And Amos, how are you doing there?
I got 6 under my agility, by the way.
And Robbie, you may be muted.
I rolled a 13, and my agility is 14.
Nice. All right. Initiative is really simple. If you make your agility check this round, you will go before your enemy, and if you make it after, you'll go. They will move faster than you do. But in this case, all of you move faster than your enemy, who is standing in the door about to throw something. What do you do?
I'm going to swing my baseball bat and try to take out a kneecap.
So you're getting in right there, right next to him, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Why don't you roll physique? Try to get. You're gonna go with, you want over 3, but under, equal to or under your physique.
Okay, and I roll.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
It says I roll a positive die when attacking with baseball bat. That means roll 2 dice.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Oh, I blew that so bad. I got a 19 and a 17.
Oh, it's a okay. Wow. Wow. Yeah, I think his foot sort of comes down on top of your baseball bat. As you go in low for the kneecap, his foot just comes down. In this old style leather boot, to which his pant legs are tucked in. What do you do? The other two of you, Edwin and Amos.
I mean, frankly, I'd probably be afraid to shoot Slugger by accident.
Okay.
I'm gonna, sorry, Slugger, but I think I'm just gonna wait. I'm just, sort of, doing one of those.
Yeah, I mean, this is sort of my job. It's not your fault that I'm really bad at my job.
Hey, man, that's okay. You're a hammer. You like to hammer things,
I'd like you to make a willpower check. This isn't for sanity damage.
I'm sorry. Who for whom?
For Edwin.
For Edwin. Okay. And that is just a single D20.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's an 18. That's
that's an 18.
Yeah. Yeah.
So are you going to run or are you going to shoot? Or are you going to move in and punch? Your fight or flight response is essentially kicked in.
Sure. Man, Slugger, I'm so sorry. I think I'm just going to start shooting.
Let's go with your agility.
Sure. So let's see, my agility is an 11. So, dang, man, I tell you, I was getting great rolls up until now. I got another 18.
Another 18?
Yes.
Okay. At least it wasn't a 20. Slugger, you were a bullet. You're not sure whether that bullet went a foot by your ear, 2 feet by your ear, 2 inches past your ear. It's always hard to tell. Like, once you start talking about bullets fired out of guns, anywhere between 3 feet and half an inch are pretty much. But it clearly, if it hit the guy who's pinned your bat down, he's not showing any sign of it. Amos.
I think Amos is going to start firing as well.
Okay. Make that agility check, Amos.
Okay. Now, I think because
That's an easy target.
Yeah, that's an easy target if I take the full, and I've been aiming, so I think that gives me a bonus.
Yeah.
A bonus dice. So let me. So I'll roll 2 of these. So I got a 3 and a 7.
Wow. Okay. Your 38 revolver would normally have a D6 of damage, but I'm going to ask you to roll that twice.
Okay. So 2d6. Both of them are 2s.
Both of them are 2s?
Yes.
All right. In high or low there, high or low there, Amos?
You mean, am I aiming high or low?
Just give me just call it high or low.
Let's say low.
All right. He pulls back the helmet and tosses it straight at or directly at Slugger, just down rather ferociously. And this is where I get to roll. I'm going to go with green color. And Slugger, it bounces right by your head. You're able to sort of pull back, and it sort of skids off your winter jacket. And it feels through the jacket. In fact, you can smell the burning plastic of the shell of the jacket, and you see through sort of a bit of smoke wafting up that the down of your jacket has singed and it's coming out a little bit. And let's all make agility checks again. You want to get over a 3 equal to or under your agility.
Okay, I got a 6.
Nice.
So did
Which
I.
is 5 under my agility.
Nice, nice.
That's 5 under my agility also.
And Amos, how did you do? And you're muted again, Robbie.
Yeah, I got a 9 and my agility's 14.
Nice. All right. Yeah, you all go first again before he does. And he is clearly about to try to just yank the bat away from Slugger and do who knows what with that bat once he yanks it away. So let's start with you, Slugger. You're right there in the midst. What are you doing as he's trying to yank your bat away?
Yeah, I'm going to get my hand in my pocket, put on some brass knuckles. I'm going to let him have the bat while he's off balance. I'm going to hit him.
Okay. So you're just kind of slugging right up at him?
Yeah.
All right. Why don't you roll physique at advantage, I think. Or no, you're specialized in the bat, not in the brass knuckles, right?
Right.
Is that correct? Okay.
That's correct.
All right.
13, which is exactly my physique.
All right. Why don't you do 3d6?
Okay.
And you're going to take 3 off of that, whatever the total is. Or the minimum.
Okay. And I automatically do +1.
Right.
+1 melee damage for my field of pain.
Yeah. So just do a -2 to whatever the total is.
So that's 11.
Yeah. So you go right up into the sternum, and you hear the sternum crack. And I'm playing around with critical hit damage because I like big damage fights. You hear whatever his sternum is crack. But there's not any sound, and you realize there's no mouth to make sound with. But if you'd done that to a person, the pain would be hard to imagine. And then
is there sound from breaking ribs, or you're just saying he's not
he's not making any sound. You hear as well as feel the sternum and the inner edge of the ribs give way. It's kind of it's not as wet as it would be if you were in a face-to-face fight with a living person.
Right.
But a living person probably
would have, the bones have dried out.
Yeah. Right. Also, a living person would probably be on the ground right now. He's not on the ground.
Yeah.
Edwin and Amos.
Man. I'm afraid to take another shot just because I'm gonna kill Slugger. You know, I think Edwin, as a untrained, he really basically just does not know how to use a gun, right?
Everybody knows a little bit. If you had it, I'm assuming you knew how to use it.
Okay.
It's not really a class feature. It's a.
Gotcha. Yeah, I guess at the end of the day, as you described earlier, this is also sort of this oh shit moment, you know?
Right.
So I guess, yeah, I mean, I will, just try to pick my moment and take a shot.
Okay. Roll with agility.
Okay. I just rolled a 6, which is 5 under my agility.
Nice. Okay. 1d6 minus 1.
Let's see. Oh, that was a 1, so it's 0.
So 1 is always the minimum.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it sort of wings him.
Gotcha.
And you see a tear open up in the arm of that jacket. In the faint light of just the lantern at this point, because you don't have the flashlight anymore, or the flashlight is just on the ground. Amos, what about you?
Yeah, I think Amos will take another shot as well. He's like sitting there trying to prop it, steady his hand on the vanity, and he'll take another attempt. So I'll roll with my bonus.
Mm-hmm.
So a 14 and a 2, and I think 14 is that's right on my agility.
Nice. Wait. 14 is right on your agility, and it was a double. Well, it wasn't a double success because you needed to go for 3.
I mean, 14 and a 2 were what I rolled, but yeah, the 14 is right on my agility.
So you're going to roll 3d6 minus 3. 1 being the minimum.
Okay. So you said minus 3?
Yep. So it's you're 3 times rolling 1d6 minus 1.
So that'd be a total of 6 damage.
Total of 6?
Yeah.
Amos, you catch him right in the abdomen. And he seems to collapse. And then all of a sudden, there's nothing there but the coat. What do you do?
You know, I think Amos is very mixed. I mean, breathing a sigh of relief, but then also confronted once again with something that is inexplicable.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what he does is he'll get up and start walking over to where that body once was, which is also, I guess, where my companions are as well.
Right.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm going to take off my coat and inspect the damage. And it's just sort of singed, right? It's not.
Yeah,
it's not
it's
an
like,
X coat.
It's like it's not. It's singed. There's a tear where there's some of the down is sticking out, but it's not like it's torn open or it's not like it's gutted where the down is leaking everywhere. There's just a singed sort of a singed line of polymers or nylon or whatever the shell of this coat is made out of.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't pack a needle and thread. Do either of you guys have sewing materials or duct tape or something?
Yeah, again, not like it's leaking, but you know.
Yeah.
What do you? Somebody can check luck.
All right, just.
That's a single d6.
Mm-hmm.
So I rolled a 5.
Your luck goes down by 1. So Amos, do you want to check luck as well, or do you want to check luck, Slugger?
Sure, I'll check my luck.
Okay.
I got a 4, and my luck is 3.
Your luck goes down by 1 to 2. And Amos, what about you?
Yeah, I will. Yeah, I'll try my luck. And I rolled a 6.
All of your lucks go down by 1. All of you know you might have either some sort of medical tape or some sort of thin roll of duct tape or some other sort of tape that comes in useful on these sort of hiking trips in your packs, but all of your packs are in the hallway. You did not remember to grab them before you ran upstairs.
Yeah. Is the helmet still in the room? The helmet that he threw?
Yeah.
And does it look hot or?
Are you reaching out towards it?
I'm not going to touch it, but I think I'll move my hand close to it.
You don't feel heat radiating off of it.
Okay.
It's just sitting on the floor. It's actually sitting on top of an old rug.
And the rug doesn't seem to be singed or anything.
You would have to pick it up or move it in some way to.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not radiating heat.
But I think what I'll do is actually pick up part of the rug and pick it up so that it would, you know, I could move it up to kind of get it to roll a little bit.
And you're the one with the lantern, right?
Yes.
Yeah, you do that. When you move it, where the neck was sitting of that helmet, is a dark spot. It's not heat, it's blood. It's not char, it's blood. What do you do?
Well, we may have possibly in this helmet the true head.
There is nothing in the helmet. You can see into the helmet.
Oh, it's just
It's
okay.
empty. Like
Okay.
As soon as you roll it, it's clearly
Oh, I see.
empty.
Well,
Slugger, you've seen one spot where a head might be buried.
Right. Yeah, I mentioned the excavation in the basement.
In the wine cellar specifically, that broken, busted up wine cellar area. With the wine glasses sitting right on top of it.
Yeah, so if we head down there, we can try. We can see what's buried. What's buried there. It might be.
yeah,
I mean, I don't know how long this ghost is going to be gone for.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't help but recall, I guess, the clue we found about salt.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, should we be? I mean, is that something for us to consider? I mean, should we be pouring salt in the head or in the helmet?
I mean, not the helmet. I think we have to find the actual head, its true mouth.
Oh, that makes sense. You're right.
Yeah, I think it's reasonable to see maybe if the head is there, and then I'm you know we'll have to see about the salt though. I'm not looking forward to going down in that cellar though, I must say. It's does not sound like a friendly place down there.
Right. Well, maybe we should go to the kitchen first and see if we can find some salt.
Yeah. I guess, I'm also thinking, salt for like sidewalks and driveways, but that seems a bit of a stretch maybe for this house considering the history and the place. I don't know if maybe there would be salt in the basement.
Yeah, there might be rock salt in the basement. There might be salt for curing meats or something. But I think the kitchen would be the first place to check.
Yeah, you're right.
But before we go, I will take my lantern next to that helmet and give it a careful look just a close look at the helmet to see if there's anything else. So there's some blood on the helmet. Is that correct?
Not anymore.
Okay. Do you think we should take the helmet with us?
I don't think the helmet is important.
Okay.
But
and I suppose it'll always be up here if we need it. So
yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think we need to find. I think we need to find some salt, and we need to find the head.
Yeah, well, since it seems possible that the head is down, and at least part of what we need is down in that cellar, maybe we should go down there and keep our eye open and see if that other part of the puzzle is that salt is something we can find. But I think we maybe just follow up on part of this puzzle that we possibly know something about, which is that curious place in the cellar.
You know, there was a food storage locker in the cellar, Slugger. That's one of the rooms you found.
All right. So let's head down to the cellar.
Okay.
Okay, and I'll get my flashlight back from Edwin, and my baseball bat, and I'll lead the way as we go down to the cellar.
Do either of you do you do anything with the coat that was left there?
I don't think I do. I mean, I don't think we've. Gosh, I mean, I don't think we got any clues to that effect. I don't know, Amos. Do you recall anything?
I don't recall anything, but I think I will kind of take a quick inspection of it and look in the pockets and see if there's anything identifying any objects or anything that are on the coat.
There is, it's clearly an insignia of rank on the sleeve. I don't know if you have enough background in military history to really know or care what it is. Otherwise, it's a finely made wool coat, nicely stitched. Clearly hand sewn with a very, very soft wool.
Does it look like the coat that I remember seeing in that mirror?
You saw him put on his sort of military jacket.
Okay.
Coat was probably the wrong word for that, but the military jacket that goes on over the shirt.
Mm-hmm.
This heavy wool coat would be a winter thing, not just a uniform thing. But yeah, this is definitely, there's braids and other insignia of office on this. And you head downstairs?
Yeah, and I think Amos will take that coat with him.
Okay. When you get downstairs, the front door is closed and locked. And you're going to the cellar? And remembering that you're all three of your packs are in the hall.
Yeah, I mean, we'll grab. I'll grab my pack as we go past.
Mm-hmm. As for the door being locked, I mean, gosh, we've fired off a bunch of shots already upstairs. I mean, would there be any harm in trying to shoot the lock?
As you guys pick your packs up, you notice that they're undone. As if somebody has been going through your packs. Like parts you've not opened are unzipped and undone. And you were asking about what, shooting the lock on what?
Yeah, I guess I was just wondering if there would be any harm in trying to shoot the lock. I thought I heard you say that the door was locked to...
the outside?
Yeah.
I mean, it's locked from the inside.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. That makes sense.
Yeah. So it's like closed and locked like it was before he started beating on it.
Yeah, and I think, Amos, when he sees his pack, I think he will do a quick inventory, kind of look in to see, is there anything missing, anything unusual about what he sees in that pack?
Make a luck roll, Amos, if you want to.
No, he rolled over his luck. He rolled a 4.
Okay. Your quick survey, Amos, suggests that your Bible is there, but both the rosary and the separate sort of crucifix on a chain are gone.
And I'll let them know that. I'll say, most of it looks here, but I can't find my crucifix or my rosary. Seem to have been taken.
Yeah, I mean, I'll take a quick look in my backpack, but I mean, I'm not going to take the time to empty it all out and
go through it and find out what's
carefully. Right, I'm not going to check carefully. I'm just going to take a quick look.
Okay. All right. Yeah, quick look. You don't see. You're not missing anything on quick look, but there's lots of small pieces of equipment you would not be able to spot on a quick look.
Right.
What about you, Edwin?
Yeah, I guess just a quick look through the bag. Just this.
Yeah, you don't spot anything on a quick look.
Gotcha.
So you're doing the quick look and then heading downstairs?
I think so. I mean, yeah. I don't know if this thing's going to come back. I don't think we've destroyed it with what we did.
You know you have not destroyed it with what you did.
Yeah.
You know that physically destroying a ghost manifestation never works. Ghosts frequently manifest physically. But the physical destruction of the manifestation in and of itself doesn't work unless you're doing it in a very specific sort of way.
Mm-hmm. So I'm trying to hurry the guys along, and I mean, once again, just sort of, I'm receptive to the fact that there's things that are missing from the bags, but I'm really anxious about this thing coming back.
Yeah. Any idea how long that will take, Edwin?
I don't know. I mean, is that just out of character? Is that something arcane, like that I would know about?
You could try to make a a check.
Sure. I mean,
Intellect sound good.
Yeah.
Or you can just do. You can either check intellect at advantage or just give up a luck point.
Well, I forgot that I get advantage on this. Correct.
Yeah.
I rolled 1d20. Would you like me to roll another d20 just to?
How did that first d20 roll go?
17. It was a terrible result.
Okay. Yeah. Then why don't you do that?
Just give it the second one. Also 17.
So here's what you know about Ghost. They're going to go faster in remanifesting if they're going to be faster and more frantic if their anchor is threatened.
Gotcha.
And you are guessing his head is his anchor.
Gotcha.
Okay. Let's look for the salt before we look for the head.
In fact, Edwin, you'd almost swear you heard a footstep on the front step out there.
Okay. Yeah, I shared this, of course, with the team.
Right.
You know, we gotta go. Come on, y'all. Come on, guys.
Right. Okay, so that's it. Head down to the basement. I'm going to go to the food storage area first and see if I can find any salt.
As you guys leave or head to the basement, you hear footsteps, slow footsteps on the stairs, and you hear a small rapping knock on that front door. And you're headed to the basement?
Yes.
And you're headed to that food cellar area, right?
Yes.
1 second. Let me get some detail. There is what clearly was a smoking meat room. You can smell the old iron smell of blood here. There's a big table with many sort of boxes shoved under the table and under benches along the walls. And the table itself was kind of a large chopping block, and there's still a cleaver kind of embedded in the table. There's no sign of meat other than that smell of blood.
All right. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to look through the boxes. It seems like a likely place to find salt.
You do find a pretty heavy duty old salt. In sort of a cardboard carton.
Yeah.
Kind
Okay. I'm going
paper bag. And it seems to have absorbed a lot of moisture. It's not quite to that salty paste like you might use to clean out a pan, but it is definitely at that like sticky.
Yeah. All right. I'm gonna dig through my pack. I'm gonna find some sort of bag or container to take.
You've got. I mean, you have it sort of a. You have it like you like it's. This is carryable. This is not.
Okay. It's not a huge box. It's a.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'm gonna bring the box. Then I'm gonna pick up the box. And
actually, let's clarify it. It's a sizable box, but there's a scoop in it.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Right. Sure. I mean, I just want to bring a sufficient quantity of salt with me to fill a corpse's mouth.
Yeah, yeah. It's one of those kind of kitchen scoops,
right?
That is meant as much for carrying things around as it is.
Right. All right.
You do have to hack at it a bit.
Right.
to get it, but and you hear, even standing where you are, that the knocking on the front door becomes more frantic. And then you hear the shoulder kind of go into the front door.
Yeah.
But you have that scoop of salt.
Right. You know, I'm going to put a line of salt across the bottom of the stairs.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if that'll bother it, but it might. Can't hurt.
All right. Yeah. It's still pounding away, but you put a line of salt down there and you refill the scoop.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
Now, you know that you saw two especially weird places. You saw the wine cellar where the floor was torn up and somebody had dug into the packed earth of the floor, and about the same size of hole that was described as being on the grave outside. And that sort of freshly unpacked and refilled in earth is what had the two wine glasses sitting on top of it. And then there was the area that looked like it just a random, almost like a well that didn't have any water in it, just going down into the earth. You heard something splash on the bottom or land on the bottom, but you couldn't quite see it with just the flashlight. So you know it's pretty deep. Where are you headed?
I'm headed for the excavation with the wine glasses.
Okay. Everybody else heading right there?
Yeah, and I think, you know, when we get there, I mean, I think Amos will take those two wine glasses, not spill them, but move them off to the side and try to get going with some digging in that area.
This is this is not for sanity, Amos. This is for something else. Why don't you make a willpower check?
Okay. I rolled a 5.
A 5, and that's under your willpower, correct?
Yes.
All right. You notice there's a ring at the bottom of that wine, or both of those wine glasses. And you remember that ring being on, and these aren't wedding band style rings. They're sort of personal rings, maybe family heirloom rings. But you remember a ring being on the officer's hand. When he was getting dressed in the mirror. It looks a lot like that. Both of them do. They seem to match. But yeah, you clear them off. And you hear a crack from the door upstairs, like somebody hit it really hard. As you move these rings aside. What are the three of you doing?
I mean, I got out my camp knife. It's the closest thing I've got to a digging implement, and I'm going at the ground.
Okay.
I'm trying to re-excavate whatever this is find whatever is in this hole.
Okay. Why don't you make a physique check since you don't have a good. Make it a disadvantage because you don't really have the right tool for digging this out.
Okay. I got a 6 and an 11, and my physique is 13, so both successes.
Nice. Yeah, you're going way faster than you thought. And it's not clear yet, but you definitely feel hair under your hand.
Yeah.
Why don't you make that physique roll again? Edwin, is there anything special you're doing right now?
No, I'm afraid to say, not only do I have a terrible physique, I also don't have any tools. I mean, I think Edwin would probably just be, gosh, just helping with his hands. It's the best that he could do at the moment.
So since with Edwin helping you clear that out, I'd like the two of you just to make willpower checks.
Okay.
This
okay.
is for sanity stakes.
Right. And my second physique roll, I got a 20 and an 8.
The second physique roll, you got a 20 and an 8. And that's, yeah, you're not at disadvantage. So just clear those, roll again for your physique roll.
Okay.
Because you're not at disadvantage because Edwin's helping you.
All right. So second roll is a 4.
A 4. Okay.
And the willpower roll is a 16, which is over, right? Which is over. Yeah.
How did you do on that willpower roll, Edwin?
I got a 10, and my willpower is a 14.
You're going to lose 4 sanity there, Slugger.
Okay.
As you start to freak out a little bit, like you're handling a dead person's head, you realize as you keep digging, and it becomes more obvious by you're not even seeing a face or forehead yet, but as you go, you're seeing more of a head of hair.
Right.
Yeah, I can.
You're keeping it together.
I was just going to say, I can I visually see Slugger kind of losing it, or
not losing it per se, but definitely a little kind of grossed out or disturbed. Okay. Maybe I think you can see it on his face.
Sure.
Amos, what about you? You're standing back there with those wine glasses. You see the rings inside them? One in each wine glass?
Yeah, I think I'm going to try to fish the rings out of the glasses.
Yeah, you reach in. You can get. Do you just want to toss the liquid?
No, I mean, I think I'll keep. I might spill a little bit in doing this, but I'll keep the liquid in there. But just try to get those rings out.
You're just sort of sitting them down on the packed earth floor and pulling the rings out.
Yeah,
you've got both of those rings.
Okay.
And you're holding on to them. They are nicely carved, or certainly nicely inlaid, or I'm losing my vocabulary words here. I'm sorry. I apologize for that. But they're nicely sort of etched. There's some fine detail work along the sides, but it's like bronze or something inexpensive like that. They're not. They're not, or maybe even cheap copper. They're not completely green, so that might be bronze. From having been in wine for who knows how long, and it's less of a stone and more of just sort of a flat area that really suggests that no one spent any money on these rings, but they clearly were kind of. No one spent money on the rings, but they were certainly like well worked. The decorative bits are really, really nice, and they match. Last check. I apologize. Last check for Slugger. This is the last physique roll. Edwin's still helping you. You're keeping it together.
Okay, and it's just
a
one
D-
roll.
Just
one
roll.
D20.
Yeah.
That's a 2.
Nice. Okay. You're able to get the head clear of the dirt. Are you going to ask Edwin to grab it?
I'm going to pull it out myself.
Okay. I should ask you for a willpower roll at this point.
Okay.
Handling a dead head.
10, and willpower's 11.
Nice. Yeah, you're holding on. The flesh is sort of gray, brown, and leathery. The hair, you can't tell whether it's the reddish clay of the packed floor or the other dirt, but it seems sort of a weird sort of reddish yellow. And it's very, very withered. But it's otherwise intact.
I'm going to force the mouth open.
And you hear another loud crack on the upper door. And you're forcing the mouth open?
Yes.
Roll with willpower.
Okay. 9. So I make it.
Nice. Okay. Yeah. It's almost like it tries to snap back into place as you pry open the jaw.
Yeah. I tell Edwin, get the salt. Pour it in.
Edwin, make one more willpower check.
A 9, and my willpower is a 14.
You're pouring in the salt.
Yep.
You have it. It's starting to sort of like there's bits of salt coming out the neck, but the mouth is filled with salt. And then you hear the front door burst open over your heads. And you hear slow steps almost dragging across the upper floor above you. What do you do?
I think Amos is going to take out his revolver and kind of cover the top of the stairs. If he sees something appear up there, he's going to start to fire.
What are they about the other two of you? The mouth is filled with salt. You hear footsteps moving across the top of the stairs.
Yeah, I mean, I'm asking Edward, did it work? Shouldn't this thing be gone?
There's clearly one more thing you need to do, Edwin.
Gosh, I don't know if this is the right decision, but I feel like smashing that head.
You know where there was that well.
Man, you know, I look to Amos and Slugger. The well? Do you guys remember seeing a well when we?
Yeah, yeah. I sort of point, and I start moving towards the well.
I mean, Slugger was the one who told you about it.
Gotcha.
Right, right. So, is there something? Do we need to throw it down the well, or is there something down there that we need? What?
Uh,
I don't think we have much time.
The door to the cellar is beginning to open.
You know, the only thing I can think of is toss it down.
Okay.
Yeah, true salt in the true mouth. I mean, we did that.
You're the boss. I'm tossing this down the well.
So could I? Let's see.
The foot's hitting the top stair of the cellar.
So
What do you?
oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was the foot is hitting the top stair of the cellar. You guys have the head. What are you doing?
So
I'm dropping it in the well.
Sure.
Anything you wanted to ask, Edwin? Sorry.
I know that I'm a repository of knowledge. Just trying to think if there's another instance like this that I might have read about.
I think you see Slugger moving towards the hole he said was in the floor, or the well. And as you do, why don't you can either do intellect, not an advantage, or luck. And remember, your luck is down to 2.
Yeah. And I'm rolling above the 2, that is.
No,
right?
no, you 2 or less.
2 or less, I beg your pardon.
Yeah.
That makes sense. You're right. Or intellect. I guess it would be intellect.
Yeah, you can go one way or the other.
Yeah, that seems like a better. And
I'm not giving you your full positive die here because you happen to move really quickly.
That's fine. I rolled a 13 and my intellect's a 15, so pretty darn close.
Yeah. So what you realize, and I'm going to need you to decide what you're going to do, is what Slugger's about to do is essentially throw that head into hell. Not literally, but in a symbolic sense.
Right.
And based on what Reverend Lucas told you when he was pretending to be your mother, is that he wanted to be not the only one who had to suffer in hell. You think that somehow, and you remember that he was no longer a ghost or a mortal of any sort. He was some sort of demonic thing. You think, based on old tales that you have read and symbolic exchanges and old spells and grimoires, that he is creating a whipping boy, somebody who's going to take his eternal punishment for him. Now, you know that as soon as that head goes down, the spirit is going to disappear, right, and you'll be free of that headless ghost.
Yeah, but I think I get your point that the headless ghost may be the whipping boy for the.
But it will. You suspect that will take care of at least your immediate problem. And we're at 11:30, so.
Yeah. Darn it. I mean, I don't think I would stop. I don't think I would stop Slugger, knowing that, to your last point, it would resolve, or it would at least, resolve this short-term issue with the headless figure.
I need you to make a willpower check. just to sort of be at peace with your own conscience as this happens.
And you're
Another
talking
13.
to Edwin?
Dead one, yeah.
That was another 13. So just one below.
One below. You know that situations did not leave you a lot of other choices.
Sure.
Edwin, or sorry, Slugger, you let the head go. And just as something is about to turn the corner, Amos, all the sound on the stairs just stops and nothing emerges. I think you guys are able to spend the rest of the night in the house. I'd like you to make one last willpower check, Slugger.
Uh, 14. That's a failure.
Okay. You know you didn't literally hear this, or you think you didn't literally hear this, so you can't explain why you have a memory of as the head was falling. As the head was falling, you began to smell brimstone and hear a laugh, like a deep, inhuman chuckle. Joyless, cruel, vindictive. But you know you didn't literally hear that. You were in that room for maybe a second. The next day is clear. The snow has stopped falling. The temperature is raised just slightly. And with the winter gear, you're able to keep moving back towards town. The depth of the snow beyond the borders of town is not bad. And by the time you guys get back into the vicinity of Cold Spring, it's not heavy at all. It's a little less than an inch. Amos, I think on the hike back, you maybe get a moment just to yourself where the others are either ahead of you or you step behind a tree to relieve yourself or whatever. And you see the figure in the nightshirt standing right there next to you. And he's got one of the rings that you had taken. What do you do?
I reach into my pocket, which is where I had put those two rings, and I pull them out. Is there just one ring in my pocket now, or are they both still?
One ring is in his palm and one ring is on his hand.
I see.
He lifts up his other hand and he has your rosary and crucifix and chain on it. And he sort of holds them out like you need to make a choice.
And I have to choose between a ring. Is that correct? And
your old rosary and chain.
you know, I think Amos stares at this figure. You know, shakes his head to see if the figure goes away, which it doesn't. And I think you know, Amos goes for the rosary, but I think pauses and he almost feels like there's some force that's pulling him to take the ring. And so his hand swerves over and clasps the ring, and that's what he takes.
Yeah, the figure is not there anymore, but you have the ring. Your rosary is in a melted footprint in the snow. Do you take it?
Yeah, I'll after the figure is gone, I will pick up the. You said it's melted.
Mm-hmm. No, there's a melted footprint in the snow.
Oh, a melted footprint. Okay, but yeah, I'll dig the rosary out of the footprint and take it.
All right. But the crucifix and the chain is gone.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the three of you return home. And I'd like to end there. And say goodbye to our audience.